Inside pretty much every major company on the planet, there's this silent, incredibly powerful system that runs everything. It's the central nervous system of the business. And for the longest time, it's had one very specific job. For decades, this system, we call it an ERP, was basically just a giant digital filing cabinet. Its whole purpose was to keep a record of everything that happened. A historical ledger of every single transaction, from finance all the way to the supply chain. It was crucial, for sure, but it was always looking backward. But here's the big question. What happens when that filing cabinet suddenly wakes up? What happens when it stops just recording the past and starts predicting the future? Well, that's the huge transformation we're going to break down today. To really get just how massive this change is, we first need to understand the before picture. Let's take a quick look at what these systems were originally built to do. So, a traditional enterprise resource planning system was totally reactive. It needed a ton of manual work, people just constantly feeding it data. It was a system of record, not a system of intelligence. It could tell you what happened last quarter, no problem, but it gave you zero clues as to why it happened or what might be coming around the corner. And this is where the story completely flips. The integration of artificial intelligence has turned these platforms upside down, transforming them from these passive tools into dynamic, predictive partners in the business. And look, this isn't just theory, it's real, and it's measurable. A 2024 Deloitte survey found that 63% of companies that have put AI into their ERP systems are seeing major improvements in how efficiently they run and how they make decisions. So what does major improvement actually look like? Well, for one thing, it means they're cutting down the time it takes to handle routine stuff by an average of 40%. Think about that. Tasks that used to take an hour now get done in a little over 30 minutes. And on top of being way faster, they're also getting a lot smarter. Those same companies reported a 35% average jump in accuracy. So you're doing things faster and with fewer mistakes. I mean, that's a pretty powerful 1-2 punch. So the key takeaway here is this big shift from being reactive to being predictive. The old systems help you figure out what went wrong yesterday. The new AI-powered systems help you predict and even prevent what might go wrong tomorrow. It's a totally fundamental change in how a business can operate. But how does all this magic actually happen? AI is such a huge buzzword. So let's pop the hood and look at the key technologies that are really driving this revolution. Okay, at the heart of it all is machine learning. This is the engine that's actively learning from your company's entire history. It just eats up massive amounts of data, sales figures, supply chain hiccups, customer behavior, you name it. And it literally teaches itself to spot these invisible patterns that predict what's coming next. And here's a brilliant real-world example. One city used machine learning to analyze everything from old collection data and weather patterns to real-time sensors on their garbage bins. The result? They optimized the routes so well that they cut operational costs by 30% and improved service by 40%. That's not a small change. That's a huge, tangible impact. Then you've got natural language processing, or NLP. Think of this as the system's voice. And its ears. It's the tech that lets a regular person interact with all this complex data just by talking to it, like you would a person. No more specialized training or complicated reports needed. So instead of spending hours building some complex report, a financial controller can now just ask, hey, how did our performance last quarter stack up against our projections? And the system doesn't just spit back numbers. It gets the context, it analyzes the trends, and it gives you real insights you can actually use, all from one simple question. And finally, there's Robotic Process Automation, or RPA. So if machine learning is the brain and NLP is the voice, you can think of RPA as the hands. These are little software bots that handle all those repetitive, boring, rule-based digital tasks that people used to have to do. It frees them up to focus on the much more interesting strategic work. And the results here can be absolutely wild. In one case, a company used RPA for processing invoices, and it led to an 85% reduction in manual data entry and a mind-blowing 92% improvement in accuracy. It just completely revolutionizes a core and, let's be honest, pretty tedious part of the business. Now, of course, transformation like this doesn't just happen overnight. You can't just flip a switch. The journey from a traditional system to an intelligent one, well, it's packed with real-world hurdles that every company has to figure out how to jump over, and they usually boil down to 5 major challenges. First, data quality. You've heard it a million times: garbage in, garbage out. AI is only as smart as the data it learns from. Second, there's a huge talent shortage. Third, trying to plug these new tools into clunky old legacy systems can be a nightmare. Fourth, you get cultural resistance from people who might be afraid of the technology. And finally, it can be really hard to prove a clear return on your investment, especially at the beginning. But look, these hurdles aren't impossible roadblocks. Success really comes from having a smart plan. It means building a solid data strategy from day one, focusing on upskilling your people to work with the AI, not against it, and starting small with pilot projects that have clear goals so you can prove the value right away. So once a company navigates all those challenges, where is this whole thing headed? Well, the ultimate goal, the final destination, is something people are calling the autonomous enterprise. The road to get there seems to happen in 3 stages. First, the AI starts to assist by automating simple tasks. Then, as it learns, it begins to advise by offering up predictive recommendations. And finally, it gets to a stage where AI agents can actually begin to act on their own, making and executing decisions within a set of rules, of course. And believe me, this isn't some far-off sci-fi future. The money pouring into this is massive. The market for AI inside these enterprise systems is set to explode, growing more than 10 times to over $46 billion in the next decade alone. This revolution is already happening. And you better believe all the major players in a race to lead the pack. You've got SAP embedding its AI assistant Joule right into its workflows. Oracle is all in on autonomous finance with its Fusion AI agents. Microsoft is leveraging the power of Copilot across its whole ecosystem. And Workday is using its huge pile of data with its Illuminate platform. They're all taking slightly different roads, but they're all headed to the same place. So, really, the debate is over. The shift to these intelligent systems is happening, period. The real question for every single business out there is no longer if they should make this change, it's how fast they can pull it off to make sure they can still compete. The autonomous enterprise is no longer sci-fi. It's a $46 billion arms race happening right now. But what do you think? Are we ready to let AI agents actually execute business decisions, or is handing over the keys too risky? Let me know below. Hit subscribe and drop a like to stay ahead of the AI curve. See you next time.